Hello, welcome to a new Gespy build stuff video. 2 months ago I made a review video of the new Atari 2600 Plus. In this video I mentioned that I had heard there were problems with European 2600 cartridges. But so far all my cartridges had worked fine. But that turned out to be a bit premature. After I had a number of cartridges of which the colors were not displayed properly. What's going on with those European cartridges on the Atari 2600 Plus? In this video we try to find out. Welcome back. The problem is that during the lifetime of the Atari 2600 there were different TV systems in the world. For example, in the US you had the NTSC system and in Europe and Australia the PAL system. The 2600 game cartridges were made for a specific TV system. But it seems that the Atari 2600 Plus was mainly developed with the NTSC system in mind. And now it appears that the 2600 Plus does not work well with all the cartridges for the PAL system. To understand how this is possible, let's first look at the differences between the two systems. During the analog era, there were 3 systems operating in the world. In the parts indicated in green, you had the NTSC system. That was mainly in the US and Canada. The PAL system was active in the yellow areas. That was mainly in Europe and Australia. And then you also had the CCAM system. It was active in France and in the former French colonies in Africa and in the Soviet Union. The NTSC system was introduced in 1954. Very advanced for that time, but the system had problems with displaying colors correctly. NTSC is also sometimes called never the same color. In 1963 the PAL system was introduced. In that time technology was improved, which led to a better TV system. The NTSC system can display 525 lines, compared to the 625 lines of the PAL system. In contrast, NTSC worked with a refresh rate of 60 Hz and PAL with 50 Hz. But that's probably because the American power system also works with 60 Hz and the European system with 50 Hz. The modulation of the color information on top of the black and white signal was also improved with the PAL system. But how can this affect the Atari 2600 games? This is due to the operating of the 2600 hardware. It was so simple that the software of the cartridge itself was responsible for drawing the image lines with the cathode ray in the television tube. So that part of the software is different on a cartridge for NTSC than the software for PAL. Atari indicated with the letter P on the cartridge if it was a PAL version. Now the Stella emulator in the 2600 Plus can play both NTSC and PAL games. But that doesn't always go well. Let's see what happens if you put such a cartridge in the 2600 Plus. We'll start with Space Invaders. We can see from the letter P that this is the PAL version. We start the game. It's clearly visible that the colors are way too dark. The spaceship is almost invisible. This way the game is unplayable. We're going to try another game. I now placed pole position in the 2600 Plus. Colors are also too dark in this game. The road is supposed to be grey, but it's completely black. But it's playable in itself. We'll try one more game. This is Yar's Revenge. Very dark colors here too. Yars' Revenge is also included in the 10-in-1 cartridge. That is probably the NTSC version. See what that looks like on the 2600 Plus. A lot better, here the hive is really orange. This means that with the system included cartridge contains indeed NTSC games, and this also applies to systems sold in Europe. I've now connected my old original Atari 2600. We start with pole position. Now, at least that starts immediately, but the image is a lot less sharp. When I start the game, we see that the road here is grey. That's how I remember pole position. Next game. Let's try Yars' Revenge on the 10-in-1 cartridge. So this is an NTSC game. See what that looks like on an original PAL 2600. Look, very different colors. The orange had suddenly turned green. This means that the new games sold by Atari cannot be played properly on original PAL systems. So we see that with a number of PAL cartridges, the colors are not displayed correctly by the 2600 Plus. The playing company which developed the 2600 Plus for Atari is aware of this, and they are working on a firmware upgrade to solve this problem. During the recording of this video, a beta version of that firmware update was released. Let's install this and see if it solves the PAL problems. The firmware update can be downloaded from the Atari Age website. On this forum, Ben from PlayOn started a new topic for this. The link to this topic can be found in the communication section below this video. At the bottom of the message you will find a dumper, the firmware image, a driver and the update tool. I downloaded these 4 files and placed them in a folder. Then we take the USB-C cable from the 2600 Plus and connect it to the PC. We have to switch on the 2600 Plus in a special way. First we set the color and black and white switch to black and white. Then we hold the game select switch down and turn on the 2600 Plus. The PC will then display a message that the device has been found. Then we start the Atari dumper tool. The tool must indicate the status detected. We then press download to update the dumper firmware on the 2600 Plus. This only takes a few seconds. Then we switch off the 2600 Plus again. We now set the color black and white switch back to color, and now we hold the game reset switch down. Then we turn the 2600 on again. Another message appears that the device has been found again. On the PC we then start the Windows Device Manager. It will show an unknown device is found. We click on it with the right mouse button and choose Update Driver. And then we choose Search on your own computer. Here we browse to our folder and open the Driver Assistant folder. Make sure that Include Subfolders is checked and then we click Next. The ROC USB device will then be installed. We can switch off the 2600 Plus again. Then we start the ArchiDev tool. This tool will show no device found. Then we switch the 2600 back on with the game reset switch turned down. The tool will then indicate found one Mascrom device. Then go to the Upgrade Firmware tab and there we click on the Firmware button. Now we search for the downloaded image file. Once that is selected, we click the Upgrade button. The image is now sent to the 2600 Plus. This may take several minutes. When the download is at 100%, the update is ready. We can now turn off the 2600 Plus. Now we will see if the PAL games are displayed better. We'll start with Space Invaders. Yes, that's much better. The cannon is now clearly visible. Next one. We will now look at pole position. And yes, that's how it should be, with a grey road. That plays much better. Next one. As last we're going to try Jar's Revenge. Yes, much better too. The right color orange. With this update, the PAL games are displayed way better. Although I understand that there are still some problems with this beta version. But I'm sure they will solve this too. For me, this means I can finally start hunting for game cartridges for the 2600 Plus. Let's visit a retro game store here in Amsterdam to see if we can find some games. Okay, here we are in Amsterdam. Here we are in front of the central station. Most people arrive here at the central station and they walk here to that street. But if you want to look for retro games, you have to go to that alley, because there is the retro game store. And here we go also. Let's go! And here we have the Atari games. Which one will I pick up? These are the games I picked up. Jungle Hunt, Atlantis and Phoenix. See if the 2600 Plus plays them properly. First, Jungle Hunt. That looks good. Then Atlantis. That also works good. And finally Phoenix. That one is also displayed well. So, they all work perfectly. Okay, what should people who don't live in the NTSC area take into account when the 2600 Plus? Out of the box, your PAL cartridges may not be displayed properly by the 2600 Plus. This can be solved by a firmware update, but I can imagine that there are people who find that too complex. And if you don't have a Windows machine, for example a Mac, updating will also be a problem. But if the update is successful, it can play your games perfectly. So then it's safe to buy the 2600 Plus. But then we have the new 2600 games that Atari is releasing. They work fine on your 2600 Plus, but if you want to play it on an original PAL 2600, the colors will not be displayed properly. So, for example, if you don't have a 2600 Plus, but you want to buy one of the new games, such as Mr. Run and Jump or Berserk, for your original PAL 2600, you have to take that into account. So, that brings us to the end of this video. If you would like to support this channel, please click the like button. And click subscribe to get new videos in your feed. Thanks for watching and see you at the next video. Bye!